most of us never realise, as we stuff our faces with the sanitised swill of premium content providers, is that there is a wealth of free entertainment just a few clicks away. While it is by no means the be-all and end-all of online video, there are approximately 1.3 billion YouTube users, and 300 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. In that great cesspit of screaming clickbait, it is easy for films to fall between the cracks, swiftly buried by an eternal stream of effluence. But what of those fallen and forgotten films, swept away and buried beneath the landslide of portly cats, facepalm fails and belligerent reaction videos? Strap on your favourite hazmat suit and join Indy Film Library as we take a deep dive into the internet's most popular video sewer. Journey with us as we rake through the muck, sifting through the turds in the hope of unearthing some diamonds for your viewing pleasure. Welcome to Tube Rats. Hello and welcome to our second episode of Tube Rats, the Indie Film Library podcast, where each episode we take a look at 3, or in this case 4, of the most interesting YouTube-based short films that we could find. I'm Jack Brindelli, editor of Indie Film Library, and this week I'm joined by the usual staple, Jimmy Rudiger.
Good to be here, Jack. As always, very excited.
I hope I made you feel valued with that intro.
I view you as a father figure at this point.
Here we are then. More of the same from Jimmy.
And I'm happy to introduce one of my favourite Norwich-based comedians. I've described her now as a vegan queen and a gothic dream, Miss Georgia Madison.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Wait, does that work on a microphone if I clap?
If you clap?
Yeah.
You can try.
Well, I just tried, so I take it didn't work.
No, I don't think
it did.
No.
Okay, well, applause.
I'll take applause because I don't really want you to give me a clap.
Fucking hell.
Way. Well, hopefully the hits keep coming. This week we take a special trip into our vault with 4 horror films. This week's first film, I believe, and just so you know, I didn't say in the first episode, I will be posting links to all of the films either in the description of the Spotify track or on our blog, so you can see all of these films before we talk about them and spoil them. The first one today is going to be The Sky.
Yeah, The Sky. So I think it's worth saying, we decided to do horror films in honor of Georgia. As a gothic queen, I assumed that she was really into horror films. Only for her to say earlier on today that she was a massive pussy and cannot handle anything at all.
Oh no, Jimmy, I said I have a massive pussy.
Well, fair point.
No, I remember thinking when you asked me to be on the podcast, I was like, oh yeah, no, this will be cool because I actually hate films. Like, all of my friends know this about me. I'm awful because I always predict what's going to happen and ruin it for everyone else, and I'm just always wildly unimpressed. And I was like, this is the perfect podcast for me. I just hope we don't do horror. And then lo and behold, horror week.
Jimmy, you really have some explaining to do there, because you've been talking for a while about how this would be the ideal episode to do a horror.
That's on me. I just assumed that if she dresses as a goth all day and she looks like Ginger Snaps, then she'd be up for this. So this is my bad. I regret nothing though, and I hope I've made your day somewhat worse. So
you always make my day worse, Jimmy.
And with that, we'll move on to The Sky, the first film.
Me neither.
So the sky. Okay, so the sky is Jack's described it as a cosmic Lovecraftian horror, directed and created by Matt Sears. If you guys have you ever seen a film called Melancholia by Lars von Trier?
Of course.
It's one of my.
Of course not.
It's one of my favorite films, and this had like massive Melancholia vibes for me. So essentially, it's a short film where you've got two friends who are sitting together somewhere which looks like a Yorkshire Dales, and they're waiting for the end of the world. In the distance, we can see lightning and thunder and a light drizzle, and everything is going wrong. And essentially, they take some shrooms and they are waiting to die. And it gave me like that kind of Melancholia vibe, because that whole film was about how, we cope in crisis and how sort of like our experiences and perhaps like mental illnesses can affect how we deal with tragedy. And I feel like this was quite similar. It had that same kind of feel to it, probably like just in a more concise kind of way. Jack, what are your thoughts on this one?
I guess I have some explaining to do, because I described it to you as a cosmic Lovecraftian horror, and it is cosmic, but Lovecraftian not at all. So it's directed by Matt Sears, written by Ryan Grundy, and starring Chloe Fox and Charlotte Christoph. And I was along for the ride to a certain extent, but there's a very clear moment where I remember my mind started to wander when the big reveal happens. So spoiler alert, these two friends have gone to a remote place to wait for the end of the world placidly as the kind of sky falls in on itself or whatever, and they take some shrooms, and then it's revealed that the friend who has basically drugged her friend told her friend's abusive mother to go away to a pier rather than their actual location, which means that they can't reconcile as the apocalypse happens. It's kind of a bit of a flubbed turn of events. But at the same time, there's a moment where this friend is just kind of like kneeling in front of the person she's just betrayed, kind of knee height. And I kind of was thinking to myself, this is the end of the world. Why don't you just kick her fucking head off?
I literally was thinking exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
I know the bit you mean. I was expecting her to just do like a run-in kind of like penalty kick right in the mush.
I thought she was going to shove a camping chair through her eye sockets, and I'm kind of disappointed that didn't happen.
For a cosmic horror, I was expecting some kind of like otherworldly gore, and a camping chair through the face probably would have made for some. So yeah,
I would have enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys. Kind of at the start when they were doing that whole like never have I ever thing, I got real vibes that one of them was going to be like, never have I ever kissed a girl, and it was just going to take a completely different turn. I don't know if that was just wishful thinking.
No, I've got the words definitely some Les vibes down here as well.
Personal opinion, the actress who played Ellie, I thought she was a brilliant actress, to be honest. I thought she did a really cracking job, and also she's cute as fuck. Just a side note, just hit me up, it's fine. But no, I thought that she did a really good job, and I actually quite liked this one, but I totally get what Jack means. It was kind of like the twist, I actually didn't get it at first, and I think it's because as the audience, we were so privy to the fact that the mum was going to the pier. It went completely over my head that Ellie didn't mention the pier to her friend. Like it just didn't click for me. And yeah, like I say, I wanted a camping chair through the fucking face. So I don't know. I think like I really liked it's kind of weird to say, but like the calmness of them just sitting watching the end of the world. I just wish that the twist had been executed a bit better.
I almost feel like this film didn't need a twist. Like the setting and what was happening was in itself enough of an event. We didn't need like an extra like interpersonal kind of drama going on.
That's reasonable. I mean, it would have probably shortened the runtime, unless, I mean, the script wasn't setting the world on fire, no pun intended. So with a bit more intricate writing and just making it into a long conversational piece where they kind of chat about life and their expectations and everything, that would have been a very interesting take. I think you're right. But
Yeah.
with the guy who wrote this, no offense, but I don't think that he would have pulled that off. Otherwise, he would have probably pulled that off.
What did you think of the effects of like the oncoming Armageddon?
I actually really liked it. I liked the sky. I thought it was very ominous. I found it quite creepy when, bits of people's faces started floating away into the ether. And actually that, for me, watching that, and I was like, oh shit, she's watching her mother essentially melt in front of her. I was like, that's pretty hardcore. It's quite obviously an effect, but at the same time, it's a cosmic horror. You get what you sign up for. I still quite liked that aspect of it. But the heartless bitch in me was kind of like, it's the end of the world. You can see shit being pulled up into the sky and you're surprised that your mother is disintegrating in front of you.
Well, you can only see small pebbles being taken up into the sky, to be fair.
I still think that bitch was being dramatic. I'm just saying.
I'm completely with you on this. I actually really enjoyed it. I mean, maybe it didn't necessarily need that twist, is my only kind of thought on it. But I thought, same as you guys, the acting was really good. I thought the effects looked really cool, considering this is, a very small sort of cast and crew. I thought it was really well done.
Well, that's fair. I mean, we don't have to hate on films, and this. I mean, we've started strong. To be fair, I'm a little worried about some of the other films that have to follow this now.
Yeah.
Don't
worry, I'll bring the hate.
Well, there's plenty of time for that. But one thing I did want to say just before we finish on The Sky, I guess, is I liked, and this is for the best as well because it's billed as a horror, and I think it's really the only horrific thing that happens in it, is how grisly it is for these characters to end. So, like, I don't know if you've seen the Nicolas Cage classic Knowing. At the end of that, he converges with his family in their apartment in New York or wherever, and they kind of just cuddle together while the sun eats them. And it's almost kind of peaceful, like, oh yeah, just sighing and letting a tidal wave take you away. No, that would be, for the microsecond that you could feel anything, that would be fucking excruciating. And for this film, she has that moment of kind of like reconciliation with her mother, and there's something calming about that. But then immediately that safety blanket is kind of torn away from us with pieces of flesh attached. So I thought that was a really effective ending, even if I didn't think maybe the midsection was that effective.
Yeah, I think maybe, in terms of making that midsection meet the standards of how kind of jarring that ending was, would be like if they didn't do a twist and there wasn't like that betrayal, even if it had just been a case of Ellie saying, I want to go see my mother, I want to reconcile, and her friend trying to stop her, not for any kind of like, not that there'd been a betrayal, not that she'd kind of done this bizarre seed planting of go to the pier, like we're not gonna be there but off you fuck, like just kind of, just that kind of fractious relationship between them. The friend is like, no, your mum's abusive, don't go and see her at the end of the world, but Ellie's like, no, I must. Just that would have been enough. And if they'd like set it up with some decent dialogue and like a bit of background, maybe like reflected on their lives and like the stuff that they've been through together, like give it some context, because it seems really kind of half-assed to just go, your mum kicks you out every time you have a new boyfriend, and it's like, okay, can we dig a bit deeper so I give a fuck?
I definitely think off you fuck is pretty much,
I think that nicely. Sorry.
I forgot to check if like I'm actually allowed to swear on this podcast, so
well, it's too late now.
Either you've got to do a lot of editing or I've got to stop drinking Prosecco.
Jack, how do we feel about swearing?
We swore in the first podcast. Who gives
Did we?
Yeah. It's too late. That genie's out of the bottle.
Fuck 'em, man. So would we recommend this to film?
Good question. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I think I'd recommend this one. I'd say it was a fun, depressing watch, which is what I always look for.
Yeah. It was like a Jimmy Rudiger comedy set. Fun and depressing.
And lots of crying and self-harm afterwards.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a recommend from me.
Wow. You can't get a better recommendation than that, I fear. We'd better move on to our second film then, which is After Hours, a 2021 film directed by Isaac Ruth, starring Christine Renaud, or I suppose if she's American, then it's probably Renaud. After Hours is a supernatural, anti-capitalist critique of the ruthless exploitation of the working class by the entertainment industry.
Yes.
Bear with me, Jimmy.
No, I'm with you, don't worry.
I'll have you on board.
I'm so with you.
So this film is kind of like after decades of aimless wandering with those feckless hippies in the mystery van, Velma Dinkley decides to make her name as an editor in the movies. Unfortunately, it's a buyer's market, and so she soon finds herself taking all-night Premiere Pro marathons with the soulless advertising industry just to make ends meet. And underrested and underpaid, one night she's listening to this whimpering acoustic cover song of a John Lewis Christmas ad, and it starts to whisper threats to her. Just before she characteristically misplaces her glasses, oh, Velma, and chaos ensues. As the film quickly descends into frenzied terror, we question whether she should have been so willing to bend over backwards for her vampiric boss, whether the self-sacrifice to make it in her field is worth it or even necessary, and whether we are all own worst enemies in this individualist nightmare world. So, guys, what did you make of The Grudge Who Stole Christmas?
I agree with literally everything you said. And I'm very angry because I thought I was a free-thinking individual, but here we are.
No, I've got this film as the example of why you should never work overtime no matter what they promise you. So
yeah,
I'm pretty sure we're all in the same boat.
This was anti-capitalist propaganda. Like, don't work overtime. Fuck your boss. Capitalism ain't shit. Like, just go home at 5 o'clock. Pour yourself a bev, be with your family, don't be working hard, because if capitalism doesn't kill you, then the fucking grudge shaped like yourself will.
I really enjoyed the kind of like the Grudge, the Ring sort of Japanese horror inspiration. I feel like I really miss that in films now. There was that point when about sort of 15 years ago where you could barely move for a small Japanese child trying to kill you, but we seem to have moved on from that phase.
Thank
Oh,
God.
I loved it. I loved it.
I loved that phase.
Honestly, the creepy on all fours coming up the stairs, that like really like jagged sudden movements, the like creaking joints. And like I could tell that it was
That is what it's like if Jimmy comes up the stairs at you, by the way.
Oh,
I'm really old.
I know what that experience is like. Like I knew it was the same actress, so I'd already gotten to the point where I was like, I know it's this like kind of dark, evil shadow version of her. You know, just seeing that like that use of movement to kind of convey that, I was like, yes, I love that, because I think you know, sometimes we get kind of caught up in this whole kind of paranormal activity vibe where it's just like, oh no, look, a vase has smashed of its own accord, and it's like okay, but I want to see something that's actually going to creep me out, because just seeing kind of like the aftermath of a creepy thing isn't as creepy as seeing the creepy thing, you know what I mean?
I'm with you. I really missed that kind of like out of all of the ones we saw, I think this was the more kind of like the most kind of traditional horror film, perhaps.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this one, even though it was a little bit silly at points. I watched this with Mrs. Jimmy, and she is insisting I say how much she hated it with a passion.
Oh,
Yeah, I think because of like a kind of like the almost Groundhog Day of she's woke up, and she's woke up again, and I think it's never satisfying if it kind of feels like the last few minutes of your film might have been a dream, or of like the preceding few minutes.
Can I fight Mrs. Jimmy in a car park?
I mean, I'd pay for that.
We'll wear bikinis and it'll be a ticketed event. No, I was gonna say, like, the whole kind of Groundhog Day thing and her waking up in that same situation, that was like really tantalizing for me. I was like, yes, I want this to be like a feature film. And I know that that's maybe like an overdone trope of the whole like, why does this same day keep happening to me? Nah, nah, nah. But I just want to give the girl a chance to like super glue her glasses to her face, not climb up a ladder when she's being pursued by a fucking horrifying creature. You know, like, make some good decisions, girl. You know, you've got a chance. Do it over. Do it better. And I just like, I want the best for her, you know?
You almost got a bit of like a mother in nature towards her, it sounds like. You just want her to do well.
I do. I care for her.
do you think that it worked as a silent film? I felt at various points like a real person obviously would try and engage with this shadowy figure that's just turned up and is watching them in their after-hour studio. Maybe it's just me, but I think I would probably shout, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
That kind of would have broken the ambiance a little bit, Jack, if she'd just been like, "Fuck off."
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it could have used some dialogue, perhaps. I'm a little bit hesitant to say that after last week where we had the old West Country gangsters.
Yeah, to be fair as well, like I'm a hack. What do I know? It probably is a good thing to have this kind of voiceless protagonist because she's representing a class of people who are essentially voiceless. So I guess that's stylistically fair play.
It did add to her helplessness, the fact that we didn't hear her voice. Hashtag deep. I don't know. Like, I think for me, I wouldn't have cared as much about her if she'd done the really cliche thing of being like, "Hello, who's there? Like, what do you want?" I would have just been like, "You dumb bitch, you're about to be murdered."
I think you guys have kind of won me over. I thought she needed dialogue, but you're right. As a stylistic choice and as a probably would have deserved to die choice. Yeah, I think you're right. It actually works better with her not talking at all.
Although just one jinkies wouldn't hurt.
Well, one jinkies.
A single jinkies.
Or again, if they'd have done the old silent movie thing and just had her mouth something and then go to a screen saying jinkies.
I did also want that bit where, like she's like fumbling around on the ground for her glasses and then the ghost picks them up and hands them to her and she's like, "Oh, thanks," and puts them on.
I legit thought that was going to happen, like when she lost her glasses and then the monster like came upstairs and was on all fours crawling on the floor. I was like, maybe dude's just looking for her glasses for her, maybe it's just doing her a favor.
I really enjoyed like the actual like movements and everything. I know we've already spoken about it on the monster / killer. Like I think the actress was really good who did that.
I think this was my favorite one of the films that we watched this week. And this is coming from me, who is a massive puss, who doesn't really like horror. And I did watch it when I was in a very bad mood, but I think that helped me to not be scared. But no, I was able to kind of appreciate more of it because I was not in the mood to be scared. And it actually it still creeped me out and I was like, I really like this. And I'm convinced that all offices are just a breeding ground for malevolent spirits anyway, at nighttime or during the day when it's just friggin' Susan and her particulars about how she files things. It's just a breeding ground of evil.
So that's a recommendation?
Yes.
Excellent. And Jimmy, what did you make of it? Would you recommend it?
I'm going to say tentatively yes. I
Oh.
enjoyed bits of it, maybe not as much as Georgia did. And as I said, Mrs. Jimmy has maybe swayed my opinion a little bit on this. But I'm gonna say tentatively yes.
You're such a cliche stand-up comic. Oh, the old ball and chain. Well,
Honestly, this feels like a decision you're making just so you can continue to get laid. And it is honestly shocking to me that you have been laid at all.
Look, I've got to do what I can. It's lockdown, okay?
and just to complete the trio, then I would definitely recommend this. It was also my favorite film. I think it had the best narrative kind of arc. It had the best acting, some decent, I suppose, effects, and it felt like it meant something, even though probably that's a lot of us reading into it. So yeah, the best two films out of the way. Stay tuned for the dregs.
Please don't kill me. I know nothing. I'm not from this village. Peter, I'm only passing through. I'm a merchant. I'm not like these people. They're blasphemers, whores, devil worshippers. They're bad people, but me, I'm Christian. Please, I don't know about the creature. Peter!
Next on our agenda in that case is the Hangman, which is to be introduced. Oh, no.
No, I think Georgia's going to do the next
Sorry.
one.
Yes.
This is misogyny.
On International Women's Day, or the day after as well.
Exactly. It's like the Boxing Day of International Women's Day.
Well, here's a nice misogynist film about a little girl that you can introduce.
I shall do so. So the next one is called Where Blood Lies, which is described as a short horror about Nazis hunting vampires. Instantly, the goth in me was interested. It's written and directed by Byron Q. And I mean, points for being mysterious, because who doesn't love a single letter as a surname? So yeah, I found this one interesting. I'm not gonna go as far as to say that it was awesome and groundbreaking, but the general premise being there are some Nazis, they're in Romania, back in the days of, you know, widespread overt Nazism, not including modern day Donald Trump followers. Yeah, so they're looking for vampires, and inexplicably this means torturing local townsfolk because Nazis. Then they meet their demise at the hands of a 10-year-old, or rather the fangs of a 10-year-old girl. And I am so totally here for it. Girl, feast on those Nazis. I say feed more racists to vampires. That's my stance on this entire film, is just feed racists to vampires. I think it sends a very positive message, and I think that her dad was doing the Lord's work by feeding those Nazis to the vampire. Discuss.
There's so many things I say so many, maybe two things I want to talk about with this film, which have almost nothing to do with the film. So I feel like we should talk about that first. It was a film. I don't want to be super harsh on this one, but out of all the films we're going to review today, I feel like this is the one I've enjoyed the least. And also this is the one with like the biggest cast and crew, which I kind of feel is almost like a maybe too many chefs for the broth kind of scenario. I feel like there were so many little details in this one which didn't work. Like down from like small things like the costumes. Like that was one very, very well dressed in the checkered shirt Romanian vampire dad. I couldn't help but notice.
I think you mean vampire daddy.
Vampire daddy. I'm pretty sure I have that shirt and I wear it for stand-up sometimes. It's the checkered shirt brigade. They're very dodgy looking Nazi uniforms. I'm not a fan of this one. Jack, do you want to?
Well, I didn't write much down for this, actually, other than my only note was Welsh Nazis encounter a little girl who slaughters them. That's the entire film. Like, I'm a bit of a point where I'm a bit tired of Nazi dramas that don't make the effort to speak German. I kind of feel like it's really cringy at this stage. At least everyone affected a really poor accent this time, so it was slightly above Tom Cruise in Valkyrie, where there's just an American Nazi tank general for some reason. But the guys trying the accents just sounded Welsh. I'm not sure if it's like a particular dialect that they were doing, because I remember there was one of the last films Philip Seymour Hoffman did. He did a German accent then that I thought was Welsh. Is it just that people are bad at being German, or is it that there is this strange little enclave of Welsh-sounding Germans somewhere? I've always wondered. But that aside, I thought that it was just too flippin' obvious about where it was going.
Yeah.
There wasn't a twist in the way that the film thought there was a twist, because it made it spelt out so explicitly. This kind of limpy old man who's it seems to be doing an impression of like the iconic kind of Igor character, sort of shuffling around and going, "Yes, I bring you to the vampire." He obviously had something going on. And when he mentions that vampires attacked his family and that only his daughter survived and she's just sick, well, what is the Nazi doing at this stage following him? I don't quite understand. It's a strange moment, because also the Nazi tries to be empathetic. He's like, "Don't worry, we will take good care of you and your daughter. Once you find this vampire that will enable us to commit war crimes, we'll take good care of you."
It was farcical at that point. I mean, I would like to address, first of all, the slander against my people, the Welsh, Jack. So, first of all, fuck you. Second of all, the accents were so dodgy. I mean, they didn't seem Welsh to me as a Welsh person, but I'm really sick of Nazis with really crap English, sort of Germanic accents. Like, just speak German and give me subtitles. Like, I can read. It's fine.
Or if you
I'm
can't
really
speak German, don't do it. Don't do the film.
Yeah. It feels lazy. I wasn't massively impressed with the acting. I think the Romanian woman who sobbed for the first like 2.5 minutes is probably the only person who's in line for any kind of award, because go on, girl. Crying on cue is like a skill. But everything else was just really stunted, and I don't know if that was a script thing, or this has like a really extensive cast and crew, and yet I was the most underwhelmed by this film. We all saw where it was going. I don't understand why he did the whole like shaky hand thing against a rock. Like, is that supposed to show us Parkinson's or anxiety? I don't know. I don't care. I just don't care. I would have liked to have seen more of the little baby vampire. That would have been more interesting to me. They didn't need to be Nazis. Like, I know this seems like it would be taking away from the very core of the film, and I don't know what you guys think, but it didn't need to be Nazis. I don't see the point.
It's just like it's a bit of like a lazy trope, isn't it? If we want to have someone easy to root against, we just go for Nazis.
Make it more complex. Like, I want to feel that like depth of emotion where I'm like, oh shit, I actually really feel for this father who's trying to look after his satanic vampire daughter, but at the same time, like, these are innocent people who are being slaughtered and, like, you know, walked to their deaths. They're Nazis. I don't give a shit. Chow down, hun. Like, go to town. I want to feel more emotion, and I would feel more emotion if they weren't Nazis.
There's a few things I'm gonna just draw attention to before we do like a recommendation. So the first is one of the real cesspits of the internet. It's the YouTube comment section. If you guys had a look through that at all.
I'm scrolling now.
One of my personal favorites, Romania looks an awful lot like Southern Florida.
Okay, first of all, it doesn't. Like, this person has clearly never been to Southern Florida. Also, yeah, right. I've seen a comment which is like, he could have said, "Stop, I will tell you," about 5 minutes earlier. Dude, just let a guy get shot. Feed your kid some Nazis, that's fine. Why are you letting people get shot for? Douchebag.
My favorite comment is, "What this is the film? I'm from Indonesia." So what I discovered by just reading through some of this was actually a Kickstarter project that got funded. And this is why it has such an extensive cast and crew. This was made on a budget of $15,000.
Oh,
It
okay.
was what?
That's a pretty hefty sum for what they got out of that. Do you think the Kickstarter patrons are satisfied with that?
I'm not satisfied. I'm angry. Give me $15,000 or pounds or what the fuck ever. I will make you a better vampire film than this.
So I'll send you guys the link to the Kickstarter so you can see some of the pledges. But some people actually pledged more than £1,000 a piece to create this film.
I'm so annoyed.
I have found a great comment, by the way, if we're not done with that. It's from iPod Jack, and it says, "The Nazi officer acts more convincingly than Hollywood ones."
He is correct.
So for $1,000, you would get executive producer credit on the film, invitation to the set, VIP wrap party ticket, tickets to the premiere, one drink.
I needed one drink to not completely lose my mind when you said that it was $15,000.
$15,000.
It's played at the Abattoir Horror Film Festival of Wales, just so you know. So maybe we're wrong. After all, the Welsh are perfect.
No wonder the bloody SS people are blooming Welsh.
So are we recommending this one?
No, I'm not recommending it. If this was made by Welsh people, I am disappointed in you. I'm disappointed in my fellow Welshmen. You should be ashamed. $15,000. You could buy all of Blaenau Gwent for that. Don't be messing around with this shit.
I've got no idea if that's a real place. I'm going to say no for recommending it, though. For $15,000 as well. I feel like some of the films we've watched are made on like a much smaller budget, there's a lot more heart in it. I just don't get what this was trying to be.
I mean, I think it was infuriating and terrible. But I kind of enjoy it for that, because one of the things I like is when people become so angry that their accent becomes broader, and that just happened to Georgia. So maybe I do like this film.
It's a recommend now. Good job.
Watch it with Welsh people, and they'll start swearing at it in broad accents. You'll have the time of your life. But apart from that, no, I can't recommend this, obviously.
Okay, so we'll move on to our final film, which was The Hangman, which was shot and directed by, and I apologize if I get this wrong, Edoardo Magliarella.
You almost certainly got that wrong.
Oh, too late now. We're just going to roll with it.
We'll just chalk it up to another one of your life failings, Jimmy. Don't worry.
Yep, it's this comedy and pretty much everything for the first 29 years. So this was a 3-minute short by Edoardo.
Mm-hmm.
Just double down on getting it wrong. It's a really simple premise. There's a student working late into the night who pours himself a glass of water and then finds a mysterious piece of paper on his kitchen table offering him a game of Hangman. He doesn't question it, he just plays along. Turns out he loses the game and he dies by getting hanged. That's pretty much it.
Who could have possibly seen that ending?
We don't even see him like come down from the rafters though. He's just suddenly strung up, right? Like
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, it just cuts to a shot of what was definitely not a stuffed mannequin. It was definitely a real person hanging from the rafters.
I believe it was a stuffed mannequin because it seemed to have more personality than the earlier actor.
A stuffed mannequin with some fresh kicks. I was disappointed by this one. This one was actually the first one that I watched. Initially, I was like, I kind of like where this is going, the effects that they've got going on. And then the premise kicked in. And I was like, oh, I'm just annoyed. I'm just annoyed by everything about this. First of all, if you're a student working late into the night and a mysterious message appears on some paper, if you don't get your lighter out and burn that shit immediately, what the fuck is wrong with you? Who goes, yeah, let's play a game with a clearly malevolent spirit? Like, my dude, you're gonna die. Also, your hangman skills are shit. If your first four letters aren't E, S, T, and A, you're fucked. Like, you're so stupid, you deserve to be killed by the malevolent spirit that is clearly haunting your fucking statistics textbook. I don't give a shit. I'm so annoyed at you that you had to be so fucking edgy that you spell out die with your first 3 letters. Like, no, I don't care. That's not cool. That's not interesting. We saw it coming from about 20 million miles away. Play Hangman properly and maybe you wouldn't end up fucking dead.
I loved this because it was so hammy that it's my kind of thing. Exactly what you're saying. Like, the fact he spelled out die with his first 3 letters, the fact that there was just random drawings of pentagrams on a piece of paper, like, next to him. The fact that, like, there was a newspaper article about hanging and then the words "I'll hang myself" scribbled on it as well.
Well, was that not what he was studying?
What, was he studying how to hang himself?
No, I assumed he was like a, Miskatonic university type who's studying the occult. So that's why there's all this stuff there. And that's why he doesn't immediately freak out. And maybe he feels kind of curious. He wants to reach out to the other side now that he's finally encountering this thing that he's read so much about.
Okay, I will fully admit that I did not catch on to any of this background shit. I was just really enraged about his choice of letters.
I mean, I did consider that, but then I was looking for more clues in the background to try and find out if that was the case. Like, there was that kind of blank book that he was mostly resting on. If it is like what it was supposed to be, if it was supposed to be that he was studying this occult and happened to find it, surely if he was studying and he knew about it, then why on earth would he play then?
Well, that is also a good question, to be fair. It is a thing that you have to suspend your disbelief in a lot of horror fiction, I would say. Like, often, say, in the works of M.R. James, you have this fusty academic who spent his life studying these things and the folklore around them. And theoretically, he knows that there's warnings not to do the things that he's about to do. And he does them anyway because he feels intellectually superior to that kind of stuff. Maybe he feels like it's tattle.
If you're gonna be a dumb bitch, you're gonna die like a dumb bitch. That's all I'm saying.
That does happen. I feel also like for the kind of scholar that he's supposed to be, one, he's too young and isn't wearing some kind of tweed. And two, that his house is much too nice. It's a student film, I believe, from London Film Academy. So I assume Enrico Conte is one of the other students there. And they appear to have shot the horror film in his mum's house. There's some nice healthy fruit and vegetables on the counter behind him. She probably told him, make sure you have some nice healthy lunch while I'm out, and then left him to his hangman game.
The fact that he's drinking water and not Frosty Jacks is just telltale, really.
What kind of student is this, honestly?
I want to see questionable schmears on the walls, and I want there to be a pile of washing up so high that the spirit is like, you know what, not today. Like, I just can't haunt this place.
When I was a student, I mostly drank a combination of iron brew and whiskey, which together is surprisingly both depressing and delicious. So,
I mean, depressing and delicious is how my ex would describe me. Anyway.
So returning to how you should play Hangman. Obviously,
Yeah.
everybody knows that the first thing you do during Hangman is you get the vowels out of the way.
No!
Surely.
No.
Yeah,
not necessarily.
that's like the cheat code. And that would have worked exactly with this, because you'd have seen where all the vowels would have been in the Hangman. Oh, look how many fucking A's there are all through this. And
No. No.
No?
No.
All right, what do you do?
Okay, Jack, you and me are going to fight in a car park after I fight Mrs. Jimmy.
I'm going to challenge you to a Hangman contest.
Well, I'll win because your approach to it is bullshit.
Okay.
You need, like, right, okay. There's no point in doing all the vowels because the main vowels used in the English language are E and A. So you do those two first, and then you kind of go for things like S and T, which are also used in a lot of English words. Once you've gotten those four out the way, fucking do what you want, mate. Like, if you want to go in with a U and be a dumbass, go for it. But don't go A-E-I-O-U straight off the bat, because you, my friend, will be victim to the Hangman.
Two of those would have been correct.
Yeah.
And
but
then you
you
would have known where to go.
Yeah, but then you would have gone with C, like the guy in the video who thought that a 3-letter word ending with E warranted going for, oh, I think I'll go with a C next, and it's definitely not the word the.
He thought the answer was Che Guevara. It's very justifiable.
I wish he was right.
Can we just point out as well that the Hangman, I've never played it where you just do a whole body in one sort of go. I feel like I shouldn't have died. I feel like the Hangman cheated us.
I think so too. And I mean, credit where it's due. If you're an evil spirit, you play Hangman by your own rules. Like, that's to be expected.
That's fair, yeah.
But everyone knows you do the head, then you do the body, then you do a leg, then another leg, then an arm, and then an arm. Like, you don't just go all in. You're like, whoops, you're dead. That's just not fair.
Well, clearly he was, the Hangman was playing by its own rules as well, because there's no establishment of what the stakes are here.
That's true as well.
We don't know what Enrico actually stands to gain by playing this.
The Hangman clearly has an ego problem as well, because it spelled out its own name. And also, I would like to query if the Hangman has targeted other individuals previously and left behind documentation which clearly states its name and its intention. Why has that not been published to the public? Why is this person, who is apparently, though I didn't notice, studying the occult, why is he not aware that the answer is the Hangman?
It's quite insecure, isn't he? Like, whole Hangman.
Ugh.
Also, why did he just randomly knock a vase over? If he's going to commit murder, there's no need to vandalize.
Have some respect for the soon-to-be dead.
Yeah.
That was an outtake. They smashed Mum's vase and they were like, oh, fuck, there's going to be hell to pay for this. We might as well leave it in.
Yeah,
We'll get something from this.
Are we recommending a Hangman?
Yes, but only because I want everyone to be as annoyed as I am.
I fully recommend it. I really enjoyed it. It's so hammy. A hammy horror film is great.
It wasn't a horror, though. It wasn't scary. It was stupid.
I mean, a lot of horror films are not scary and stupid, unfortunately. I would not recommend it. I don't recommend watching any film that uses editing to imply that the lights have gone out. The human eye knows the difference between a blank screen and a fucking dark house.
You say that, but again, this is another detail that I did not notice.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry, I'm just nitpicking in that case. I do recommend the Hangman. It's perfect.
I think, Jack, that you just have a vendetta against the Welsh.
I can't think of as to why. I don't follow rugby, so I don't need to get like my own back for that. England have been historically much worse to the Welsh than the Welsh have to the English, so
Exactly. Yes, thank you.
maybe you need to up your game. Give me something to really root against the Welsh for.
Is my existence not enough?
Not really, no.
I would have said Where the Blood Lies was a good enough reason to root against the Welsh going forwards, to be honest.
No, we're looking for a vampire, look.
Oh, where's the vampire? That was also the worst Welsh accent I've ever done. My family will be ashamed.
Still better than that film.
We have to get you angry, then it will flow out again.
Exactly.
So I guess we're coming to the end of our hour. Georgia, do you have anything you'd like to plug at the moment?
I mean, I haven't done comedy in a while because of COVID, and I am scared of doing Zoom comedy gigs. But I will be doing comedy again soon, and have been selling Dead Things just to really like solidify my stance as a goth queen. So yeah, so I've got an Etsy called Dead Things by G. Please buy my shit because existence is futile and life is meaningless. Thank you.
Okay, so very quickly, on the 31st of March to the 4th of April 2021, the Indy Film Library Awards are taking place. Due to COVID, this year they're taking place online, which means that they aren't just available to punters in Amsterdam. You too could be tuning into our extensive program of amazing independent film. So tickets are currently available alongside a full program of the event on our website. If you go to indyfilmlibrary.com/indie-awards-2/ I really need to work on that. Then you can get tickets there. They're currently on sale either for €2 for the individual events or for €4 for the entire 5-day event. So that's my plug complete.
Thanks very much, Georgia, for joining us and gothing it up with us this week.
Thank you for having me.
Be happy to have you back at some point in the future, I think.
Yeah, close to Halloween.
Yes, please.
What have we learned today? We've learned that if you're playing Hangman, apparently you should only start with the letters A-S and then do whatever Georgia tells you. We've also learned that Welsh Nazis are actually prevalent and roaming through the valleys. We've learned that if you are working long hours, you are quickly becoming your own worst enemy. And if your boss expects you to stay behind at work, you should run straight out of there. And finally, I guess, don't take drugs.
That would be the biggest takeaway, I would agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't take drugs, guys.
Okay, thank you both very much in that case, and hopefully we will join you again soon for more laughs and frolics through the world of independent film on YouTube. This has been Tube Rats. Stay tuned.
Thank you for listening. Two Brats is created, produced and edited by Jack Brindelli and Jimmy Rudiger. We'd like to give special thanks to Olivia Irons for allowing us to use her music, and we'd also like to thank Georgia Madison for joining us.